Okay, and now we are starting the curtain call with Deke Sharon. Deke, okay, so I remember seeing your name. Was it in the Sing Off? Were you a part of the Sing Off?
I was one of the producers of the show. I was the music director, vocal producer, actually. You can't call yourself music director on a show because the Directors Guild of America doesn't allow the word director to be used. So
Oh,
I think I'm credited as the vocal producer. But absolutely, that show was very close to my heart.
how
We
the
had
heck didn't it
five.
continue?
So here's a little bit of television inside ball. First season, it was the highest rated new unscripted show on NBC. The second season, it was the third highest rated show across the network. And it
Hmm.
was just did a wonderful job in December, having a few episodes and whatnot. Uh, New head of NBC comes in, Roger Greenblatt. He wants Mondays to be reality show, competition night, or whatever. He's got The Voice lined up. He's got Americans Got Talent lined up, but he has an entirely open fall. And he decides to take the sing off from being a few episodes around the holidays when everybody wants vocal music and basically cast it out into the fall. And I think we debuted our first show and we were up against the semifinals of Dancing with the Stars, one of the biggest shows on television. And basically our viewership immediately dropped into half. Now, that season 3 that we had was 13 episodes long, and that's the season that launched Pentatonics, who literally have changed people's perception of and the history of acapella. So it was a win. However, the show never really recovered from the ratings, and there was like a year off before the next one, and then another year before the next one, and there was only a holiday special. It was a pleasure to make the show on 3 different continents as well. I did it in South Africa, in the Netherlands, in mainland China, which was fascinating. But so many people love the show. However, television executives, like once a show's ratings slip, they're always swinging for the rafters and they're always wanting to try something new. It's a shame. I never wanted it to go to the fall because I knew if we kept it around the holidays and we did it as that kind of short form, it could be on the air still now, a dozen years later,
Yeah.
launching new acapella groups, keeping people excited about what's going on. But you know, you get big wins and you get big losses,
Yeah.
and it's a shame.
You brought up a dozen years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, was that long ago? Oh,
Yeah,
it seems like
something
not
like that.
like a couple years is what it
I know,
feels like.
I know, I know.
And now were you also part of Pitch Perfect?
Yes, I was the on-site music director, and we had a wonderful music team. I arranged for the show, taught all the music to the actors and actresses, and then we recorded them right there um, in the place. And in fact, I'm in the nonfiction book Pitch Perfect, which is about the college a cappella world and my world, and I created the competition in the movie, the real competition that's now the International Championship of College a cappella. So not only was I involved in the movie, I was involved in creating the culture and the atmosphere and the society really that the entire movie is based on and around. It's my world, my nerdy little a cappella world.
Is there going to be a third one?
Oh, there was a third one.
There was a third one. Is it going to
We did
continue?
3. It's possible. My guess is that's kind of a trilogy, and then if something else happens, maybe in a decade it'll go to Broadway, or maybe there'll be like a reboot, or you never know. It was such a strong and powerful um, cultural moment,
Hmm.
and flavor of the month and all that kind of stuff. But we also don't want to be like the Police Academy movies, or American Pie 7, Police Academy 6, and if people be I remember the first one was really good, and Elizabeth Banks and her husband Max, who produce and whatever, are lovely, wonderful people, and they're very principled creative artists, and they do not want to just milk this thing. There's plenty more money to be made from it, but I don't think another one will get made until there's a really good idea, really good reason, and then we'll see.
This is a part where we always love to ask people if there's any conspiracies like they believe in, or would buy into that you're not sure if everyone buys into, but you totally are in on it. I would say mine are aliens. I totally think they've been around for a long time and they're just starting to let us in on what they know. But that's
Yeah,
just me.
well, 2001: A Space Odyssey is probably my favorite movie, but I don't actually believe in the monolith. I do think there's almost impossible for there not to be life on other planets, but the distance we are from them makes it functionally impossible to cross those distances unless we find these kind of wormholes and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. Yeah, no, I'm not really on board with the aliens thing. I'm a very pragmatic kind of big letter A agnostic kind of person in that like I don't know that there aren't aliens, but you gotta show me something to hang on to before I do. I'm a skeptic. I think that's a really good word, and the history of skepticism in both kind of politically and socially and experientially. It's the scientific perspective. Um, Something needs to be demonstrated in a controlled environment. To like James Randi, like you gotta show me that it's able to, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know that I have any conspiracies that I think that's actually probably the case. But I'll give it some more thought.
JFK, um,
There could have
Bigfoot.
been. Listen, he had a lot of people who didn't want him around, and it's possible there were other people involved in that whole thing. But, um, but only one person probably shot him, and ultimately we don't know, and whatever. Do I think that untoward stuff happens, politically and with the mafia and whatever? Yeah, probably that we don't know about. Yeah,
Hmm.
probably. But I'm not sure of like, oh, it was definitely this person and J. Edgar Hoover was involved, and like I like that thing. These kind of spun out storylines, interesting to hear about, but I'm not like hanging my hat on any of them. So I'm sorry to disappoint that I'm just a little too careful probably to jump on board.
Um, and lastly, I was wondering if what you think the plan could be, or what you think could do to help what is currently facing music teachers right now, which is most band or choir teachers have lost droves of kids to the coronavirus pandemic. You know, they're not, for band people, they might not be doing pep band this year. They might
Of
not be
course.
traveling. They might be separated, like you have to sit so far away. For choir, you have to wear a mask. They might not be touring. There might not be any concerts. And so what it's seeming like is that from kind of an informal poll that I've done from
Mhm.
on Facebook is that we've lost about between 50 and 60% of our students in schools as far as music is concerned.
Yeah.
Is there a way, in the same way that everybody gathered around and said vote, 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 and everywhere you looked, vote was where what the message was, from
Mhm.
celebrities to music people, everybody get back in music, join music, get involved in music. How do we get? Is there any way to get that happening?
I'm not so worried. Now, my own personal career involves flying around the world, and then bringing together disparate groups of people to sing. And I have an annual Carnegie Hall show where people fly from around the world to work with me. And this calendar year, I had like 2 trips to Brazil, trip to Australia, Belgium, Netherlands. Like boom, 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 Germany, like all Japan, Taiwan, all of these countries. I was going to be going there, working with people, building bridges, and all of it's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I get it. Like I'm online and working with these different educators and teachers and dropping in their classes and trying to teach things remotely and keep the students engaged. And it just all sucks
Yeah.
because the thing that we do, it involves people coming together, and particularly singing. For some people, they're like scientists, or some scientists, like they said, it's basically like it's a super spreader event, right? You're
Yeah.
effectively coughing in each other's faces for 2 hours, right? So um, we just can't do that right now, but that's okay. Human culture from before history, from prehistoric times, people sang, and people almost certainly sang before we could speak, like birds and crickets and whales. uh, we used tone and inflection to connect with others and express what we mean before we had words. And the history of every culture on the planet has at its core a cappella singing. And There are songs from work songs and field hollers and sea shanties as people swab the deck. And you go back to shape note singing, and so many religious traditions have singing as a part of them, as well as secular and uh, traditions and cultures. Like you go all the way around the world, all the way through history, and there's singing everywhere. People sang. I'm certain that as soon as people are able to get back together, students are going to flock back to choir. They're going to flock back to band because it feels a part of who we are, a fundamental connection that we have to each other through song and through tone and through a sense of community. I don't think that this is a permanent problem, and I understand why people don't necessarily want to be in band because band over Zoom sucks. But as soon as we're all back together in the room again, and people can sing and they can be in musical theater productions and all that kind of stuff, I just don't think they're going to have trouble filling the cast. People are going to want to do it again, and so this too shall pass, I guess is what I'll say.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope that that is what happens. If that isn't what happens, I think it's going to take some celebrity involvement or something. I mean, there's a lot of easy things I can think of to help get kids involved, but there's so many. I mean, for it to happen all across the country, and a lot of schools, they might have switched music teachers or were going to switch music teachers, found out that COVID was coming, and didn't fill the position because they could save that money.
Yeah.
And now it's a possibility of, well, once that money is onto something else, they may not hire it. They may just move it outside of school and have it be totally extracurricular.
Yeah, no, it's heartbreaking, and I think there are a lot of sports that aren't happening. For example, and but there's a lot of energy behind sports because it becomes a big industry, et cetera, et cetera. So there may be some initiatives that end up having to happen. And hey, guys, get back to music, or put music back into your schools and programs. And when the time comes, if we need to do that, then we'll do that. But I just think there's such a strong draw, and a lot of kids are going to want to do this. And we're going to keep, I mean, listen, everybody who's in my community is going to get back out there and say like, hey, come on, let's do this. This is fun. We can do it again. Let's go. And put on festivals and put on events and try to inspire young singers to be a part of this. If there's work to be done, we'll pick up a shovel and start digging.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and really appreciate you diving into all different aspects of politics and music and education and all that. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, and I hope tomorrow is a better day because it's time for it, and we will get through all this together.